overarching rules. I mean, we'll talk about some emphasis and things like that, but in reality, I'm just gonna update you on what's coming new for 2016. Okay? Any questions before we get started? You want to yell at me real quick? Just get it out. Yeah. Get it out of your system. You know, if you'll get it out of your system now, then maybe it won't happen.
All both ways.
You're fine.
Hey, is this your phone?
What's not my phone?
That's all it's called.
Wow, look at that. That was actually really good. That's kind of funny. All right. So real quickly. What I'm going to start off here is if you have any questions during the season, we actually have an individual that we kind of assign. And this is really, if maybe there was a rules that you thought went one way and you looked into the rule book and it seemed like you understood the rule and maybe it wasn't enforced properly on the field, send us a message like that. You know, send us we want to be able to, communication is very key. And I think one of the things that we probably need to do a lot better job about is communicating with you on the field and also off the field. So we want you to understand that if you have any issues with officials, with, the way rules are enforced, anything like that, don't hold it in. I mean, if it happened one game and then it happened another game, and then after the fourth game you're just so frustrated, and then you let us know, it would have been better if you would have just gone ahead and let us know at the beginning, okay? We actually have a state rules interpreter. Jeremy Redmond is our new rules interpreter. He just came onto our board this year. A lot of you guys probably know Jeremy. He's coached, he's actually played club lacrosse, and also I actually gave Jeremy a little plug here. How many people have actually had a chance to see this article that Jeremy has put together for the AJC? One of our own here, Lou Diaz's long history in the state of, in the world of lacrosse and lacrosse officiating. He officiated basketball, football, soccer. This guy, Louis has officiated more sports than half of us has had any interaction with. So. But I wanted to let you know that if you have any questions about rules or anything like that, if you have any issues during the season, specific to rules, if you'll send a message to rules@galaxref.com, it'll go to Jeremy, and we'll actually review that, and he'll get back to you on what our understanding of the interpretation is. Okay? And if you don't agree with that, then let's kind of come together. But this is kind of a joint effort. Rules is one of those things, believe it or not, we're running up and down the field at, half the speed of the kids, but to us very quickly. We're having to make decisions very quickly, and so we try to stick to knowing the rules, and sometimes we get them wrong, but we want to make sure that the majority of the time we get them right, okay? So, and by the way, if you want to pick up a newspaper tomorrow, the 17th, it's going to be in the personal journey section. If you want to read that story, Louis means a lot to all of us, and has been a mentor for many of us. So, and I'm sure, I guarantee, Louis probably had some interaction with you guys on the field as well. So he's still out there, still plugging. We can't get, he really doesn't want to retire, and I'm not sure if he ever will. But we'll keep him around for he has an amazing story. All right, everybody knows where the rules were at last year. A couple things. Nothing too big. We did have the face-off with a man down. It was a man down face-off. You couldn't bring people into the wing line. Some of the other things that you guys can look at there. We kind of changed our inspection of the cross and the strings. Some clarifications on that. You can't go below 7 players on the field. They instituted a CBO, which we hardly ever use here, except for the state championship game, and some other things there. So that's kind of just a quick overview of where we're at with 2015. So as we move into 2016, as you would expect, the emphasis is on safety. Everything is focused on safety in the world of lacrosse. And actually, I appreciate football, same kind of mentality. It's the same general philosophies that we're getting here. We're wondering if we're ever going to get any, Mike was talking about no contact in lacrosse. think about football. I mean, they're really taking a significant amount out of that. So concussions is a big issue. We want to know, we want to try to prevent that. And one of the things that lacrosse has done, I think, very well is we've really instituted, and we've been doing this for, we actually had that high hit and all the things. And, football is really just starting to get that going. We've been doing that for several years now, 2 or 3 years. So I think we've got a direct. So contact penalties for excessive hit to the head and neck, as well as penalties for hits to defensive players and blind shot hits. Same kind of thing. Now, help us out, guys. Again, we're running up and down the field, 100 miles an hour. Do you think we missed something? Probably. But with 2 of us, we're going to miss some. We're starting to see a lot more 3-man games. Some of you guys have requested those 3-man games. We're going to try to bring those kind of things into play. I think that helps take some of this out and some of the misses that we get on some of this stuff. But occasionally we're going to get something missed, but we're going to try to hit all this. And anything here that's excessive, you're going to see a multi-minute penalty come your direction. So, anything that we say up to the head or anything that comes up to the head, it's going to be minimum 2 minutes by requirement. We don't, that's kind of been taken out of our hands now. We can't even, before we could say, we could go 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But if we define it as a high hit, it has to go to 2 minutes, and in many cases, if it's a big hit, 3 minutes. All right?
Hey, Landon.
Yes, sir.
You just said high and this is excessive. Can you clarify that?
It's a discretion of the official, to be honest with you. It's really hard for me. I have to look at it, I have to see it, and that's one of the things that I really encourage you guys to do from a coaching standpoint, is if you see these types of hits that didn't get called, please send us film. If you have huddle, and send it to us immediately. Send it to us if they didn't get called. Even if they did get called and you felt like maybe it should have been, bigger, maybe 3 minutes, send us film, and we really want to see that. Question?
I have a question going off that. It's about the slash rule, though. The slash to the helmet is currently a 2 to 3 minute.
Not necessarily. No. There's no definition of slash. So if I hit and I hit the helmet, if I hit the helmet of the slash, I could very easily call just a 1 minute slash penalty. So just because you slash to the head. Now, if someone winds up in a baseball bat swing and takes the head off, we can put in whatever penalty. But by definition, that's not the same as this high hit.
Okay.
A lot of people will say, you hit him in the head, it's multi-minutes. Well, if it's a slash, again, it's one of those things you have to see. And most of you guys understand that. Question?
At the youth level, where you're in like a U11 and there is no body contact, and you have a guy that just goes head to head and lays a kid out, with the max is a 3 minute penalty.
You can eject him.
Okay,
you could eject him.
because we just had that.
Yeah, and I'm talking about high school here.
Okay.
There's a whole nother, I'm going to show you one slide of a subset of youth rules. They came out with new youth rules as well. And on all these things, they're saying that if it's not defined in the youth rules for U.S. Lacrosse, and the U.S. Lacrosse rules, the U.S. Lacrosse youth rules is in the back of the rules book if you haven't had a chance to review the new 2016 rules book. So that actually is in the back of that, and it shows the differentiation. And then if you're doing local leagues or tournaments, things like that, it's always a good idea to really clarify that, because there's people that do tournaments that even change, that makes alterations to the way that they're defined in U.S. Lacrosse. So that's always the issue. We come in and the biggest, believe it or not, one of the big challenges within officiating is to be able to move from youth lacrosse to I would call that mid-level lacrosse, like a U13, U15, and then into high school, and then into post-high school. A lot of times we've got guys that are literally coming off of a college game the night before, comes in and do a high school game, and we're human. We're running, we're quick, especially if it's two good high school teams. We've suddenly kind of dropped into our mentality that there's a chance that we'll let them play a little bit more. And so we as officials have to get better at that. And that kind of feedback from you guys will help us as well. Right?
The consistency of the checks to the head and the neck from the front was consistent from what I saw last year. What I saw a lot of is the riding up the back of the helmet, the neck area from behind, that wasn't called an awful lot. Is that?
So coming from behind?
Well, yeah, like.
Oh, like if he comes across and the guy stops and he comes over the top?
They have like a, where the guy's turning a little bit and the guy will line up the back of his shoulders and clip the back of the kid's helmet and like on his neck.
And sometimes you'll see that kind of stuff called as a hold. I know it's crazy, but just like that long stick, you know, he comes up and that stick rides up in his neck and he pulls you see that head come back, you'll get that called as a hold. And then some guys will call it as a slash instead of not slash. So we've got over 160 officials that we registered this year. Do you think that we're going to have a wide variety of experience level in that? Yes. We're going to always try to put a senior level guy with a junior level guy. But be aware that senior level guy can only cut, it's a 110-yard field, and we're running essentially with the kids. So, question?
What's the determining factor between releasable and non-releasable? Because that seems to be one of the biggest inconsistencies I see.
Okay, well, it's by definition, if we're going with a high hit to the head, automatically non-releasable, no questions. If you get a high hit and he comes out and goes illegal body check up to the head, if he points up to the head and he goes 2 minutes, automatic, non-releasable.
Your guys need to be.
All right, well, sometimes they might say that to the head and go 2 minutes, and, they forget to tell the bench it's not releasable, and they're making some assumptions there, but that's a good point. We'll try to get that clarified. All right, so helmet fitting, that's really up to you guys as a coach. We'll talk a bit more of that. This halftime warm-up, this is something that they really are recommending as we move into 2016. Football has instituted a 3-minute warm-up period outside of the halftime. However, they're asking that you bring your kids back into the field of play and do a warm-up 3 minutes prior to the end of the half. And we'll talk more about that. And then helmet equipment during pregame and practice time and defending the crease. Another thing to really issue about safety. Let's talk about, and we'll talk about each of those individually here. Contact, Greg went out and found this. Clearly, this is not acceptable, right? Anything up like that, and you're going to see those hands like this, right? And just because you'll see what happens is they'll go, boom! Guess what do they say? What's the first thing the kids say? My hands are together. Guess what this is? This is a punchy blow. This is not legal. If we see full extension of those arms, you're going to, let's hope we get that call, even if the hands are together. Right? So that punchy blow, this guy clearly doesn't have his hands together. But, I don't think anybody in the whole stadium would not know that that's a cross check, and really a cross check up to the head. But it happens so quick, we have to make those decisions, and usually we have those indicators to us as officials to determine what we're going to call. And one of those indicators is that full extension. And if you see that full extension, you're going to get called, probably. All right? So, and we've talked about the idea of being consistent here. We're going to try to be a lot more consistent on this. All right, helmet fitting. Honestly, when we come up to the coaches and we say, are all your players properly equipped? When you say yes, that's all we do. We don't do anything else. So this is 100% on you guys. If we ask you that all your players are properly equipped and you say yes, then all I can assume is that you understand the rules, you understand how to fit your players properly with equipment, and that they're equipped. If we find anything outside of that, then that's when we act. This halftime warm-up, have you guys heard about this? Have you guys thought about this? It's a big challenge when you're coming in you're trying to get, you've only got 10 minutes at halftime, right? And so suddenly now they're gonna say, hey, wait there, you've only got 7. Oh, okay, so you get out at halftime, you start at 10 minutes, kids has to run, drinks the water, and then so suddenly now you've got 3 minutes to talk to your kids, and you gotta get them back on the field. This is recommended, we need some feedback on this.
So this is a safety thing? So
It's a safety thing, that they're warmed up coming back out of overtime. I mean, like in football, we'll throw a flag on the coaches if they're not on the field for that last 3 minutes. And I don't think we want to get to that point in football and in lacrosse. But I just want you to understand where some of this stuff is coming from. So, all right, so here's some of that was all the points of emphasis for 2016. Here's all the rules changes. So we are going to have a little bit of a face-off mechanic change, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Every one of your kids that is doing face-offs has to have tape on their stick from the head down 6 inches. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's critical. One of the things we do at the college level is prior to the game, we'll ask, do you want to do a quick clinic, if you will, kind of a mini review with all your face-off guys. I'm thinking that we might want to consider doing that, especially early in the season, because that way you're going to send all your face-off guys over to the officials, have them do a 2-minute review of the face-off, and we're also going to check this tape. If you send a kid out there to do face-off without tape, he's going off. It's a delay game.
How wide is the tape?
What's that?
How wide does the tape need to be?
Now, 6 inches from the top, from the bottom of the head, the bottom of the head down the stick, and it has to contrast. The color of the tape has to contrast the head and the gloves,
What's the logic?
so that we can see that they don't have their hands on the plastic.
But it's white on white.
I know, and the white on white, it's hard to tell what the differences are. The tape has to be alternate color.
My hands be above that tape even though I'm not touching the head?
What's that?
My hands be above the tape even though I'm not touching the
Here,
head?
we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute.
Tape goes to the head, Mike.
That's 6 inches down.
Ball, okay, so ball on the back of the cross, that's another thing, kids. You saw kids running down the field with the ball on the back of the cross, you know, and they usually end up shooting because they know it's stuck. Or they're going to try to pass it really hard, and then you'll see them hit the stick. You know, that's illegal. You can't pick up the ball on the back of the stick. Primarily in face-off is where we always saw it, but theoretically, even in the middle of the field, you can't carry the ball on the back of the net. So that's something that was clarified. Over and back, this is a clarification.
Excuse me, question. Could you move the table over a little?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, just the table.
I'm going to make a mess here.
No, just a tape.
Oh, the tape. That's not going to go anywhere there. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So over and back, in previous years, it was the terminology said intentional, right? If an offensive player intentionally threw across the center line, well, once they complete their trip into the box for the first time, you know, they've maintained their 20 seconds and then come into the 10 seconds. Once it gets there, if that ball is pushed back across center line prior to, by the offense, then it's a quick play on, and then it should be a very quick whistle, and then the defense should pick that off, or the new offense would pick that up, and we should have an immediate whistle. It should be a quick, very quick transition. And yes.
If a pupil has his hand across or his shaft across, does that still?
No, but I mean, if he reaches across, picks it up, and throws it, then suddenly now you've gone over and back. But if he just reaches across and pushes it forward, then it's not. It's fine.
Right, it is.
Yeah, he can take his long pole and push the ball back in that direction. But if he actually were to pick it up and redirect it with his stick, then that's an over and back.
Is that going to be in youth too, or just high school?
That is youth rule 2. All right. So administrative face-offs. I want to kind of talk about that. Official holds the ball and indicates where the players set up. So we're gonna actually bring the kids together, and we're gonna come up and we're gonna say, put our foot down, and we're gonna say, this is our mark, right? And then that's gonna be their reference point. And then at that point, we're gonna back away and we're gonna say down. And at that point, the kids will go down, and the normal face-off rules apply. Can't be on the line, have to be out of the neutral zone, all the normal face-off rules. They have to get set up. And then at this point, we might go in there and adjust their sticks. So one of the things that is critical is to know that they may end up being down there a little bit longer than what they're used to. So they need to know that. So we might adjust their sticks, push them back and forth, and they need to allow us to do that. All right, so once we get it set, then what will happen is we'll get in position, we'll adjust the sticks, then at that point we'll take the ball and we'll place the ball into the center of the sticks, right? And we'll actually either keep our hand on the ball or we'll put our hand on top of their sticks, one or the other. And then we'll say set, and then we're going to back out. And when we back out, they've said we have to alternate our cadence. So it might be one step, it could be two steps, and we'll probably be moving when we blow the whistle, right? And so we'll back out and we'll go, and then the whistle. So once we say set, if there's any movement, then that's a violation. Be aware that it's not like college, that if there's a violation, the guy has to go off or anything. It's just a, change possession. We're not counting the number of violations, if any of you guys are familiar with the NCAA rules. We're not, like after so many violations in NCAA, you get 30, the flag comes out. We don't do that. And then we'll back out and blow the whistle. So real quickly here, face-off is one of the things they're really trying to do here, guys, is they're trying to prevent the cheating, because there was a ton of cheating going on. We're trying to prevent them from being out there in a wrestling match, right? So they want to try to get those wing guys involved into the play as well. So that's why they're wanting them to push that ball out or get it out and try to minimize that. So at this point, we're going to put them down, and then this is just for us. We'll actually hopefully be a lot quicker than it seems, but then we'll say set and then go. Okay, so this in the back of the car. So after we've done the face-off, this right here, that right there is all. If the ball is not coming out of his stick at that point in time, then that's a violation. You get basically that 1/2 step.
Is it a half step, or is it, because the earlier slide said 1 step?
1 step. You get 1 step.
You get 1 step.
1 step.
The ball
But
comes out.
obviously, 1 step should be coming out. And still can pinch and pop and all that stuff. But they really want to get those wing guys involved. And I've seen these kids, they're really getting better. They can pinch and pop it forward, they can pinch and pop it back. They just don't want them to come out with that ball in that stick. So 1 step. And you can see here. So the pinch and pop is still legal as long as the player pops the ball out before he steps in any direction. See, he's stepping and popping at the same time. And that's really what they're wanting. I guess some kids could be really good at 1 step, flipping it around and getting the ball back into the front of their stick. I've seen some kids do it that are really fast, but most of the kids, I think, are going to do that. Because they want to get those wing guys crashing in. Another thing what will happen is those guys crash in, and if that ball's stuck in there, what happens? They crash in hard, and somebody gets hit, and somebody gets hurt, because it's usually that blind side, because they got their head in. Right? All right, so here's the photo tape. So that's a NCAA environment there, but this is what I'm talking about. That's more than 6 inches. I mean, it has to be a minimum of 6 inches. Was this answering your question here on the tape? It's like, so, and you don't want to wrap the tape around the head here. You want to go here, from here down 6 inches.
The entire 6 inches needs to be taped.
Correct.
Well, there's,
All the way around the shaft.
there's new shafts now that have the neon like lime green. So the head.
Already built into it?
Yeah, so you have that color contrast. The new baseball shafts are.
You saw that one coming, didn't you?
Yeah, so they're already building that.
Those manufacturers are jumping right on that, right?
So the hand is not allowed to be on that tape? Or
No,
is it just
no,
the
the
contract?
hand, we're trying to see, they like to wrap their hand around the plastic right here. I have to be able to see that pink tape between the white variation and where their glove
So
is.
you wouldn't be allowed to have white tape with a white head?
That's correct. It has to be, it actually has to be,
If you have a white head and a black shaft, you don't have to do that.
so contrasting color, not touching the plastic down the end. So it has to be variation of usually a white head. I mean, sometimes some heads are different colors, but usually it has to be a variation of white and whatever the color of the glove is. So Greg put in here this pink and neon because most of the cases you're not going to see pink or neon gloves. That's not always the case. So, so that usually if you get some type of wild looking neon color and wrap it up, it'll be fine.
Hey Landon, we've got 5 minutes.
Okay. All right, so diving, this, honestly, we've always had a diving rule. You can't dive in the crease. However, the difference is, the one thing that's going to be a scary part for the coaches are that so if you leave your feet and you have the ball and you shoot, and you end up in the crease, legally or illegally, and you score, there's no goal. That's the big rule difference, right? So if I leave my feet, huh?
If you're pushing the crease, it's no goal.
That's exactly right. That's the same way it is in college too. So if I leave my feet and I shoot and I get pushed into the goal and I score, I was illegally pushed into the end, right? We'll still have a flag. You're still pushed, but you're just not going to get that goal. You're going to have to start over. You have to do a restart 30 seconds down.
But if you didn't leave your feet, the goal count?
That's right. So as long as the issue is in possession of the ball and outside of the crease, he leaves his feet prior to or during or after the release of the shot and lands in the crease. He must be grounded. Now just because, so like if I shoot and I'm grounded, and then I get pushed in and I score and I end up in the crease, that's still a good goal, right? Because I was grounded. But if I leave my feet, if I end up in that crease and I score, you're not going to get a goal. All right, and so there's some more information. We'll look through that again. Be aware of that, there is some subtleties that like if you were to kick, if you left your feet and then you caught a pass and then shot, and you ended up in the crease, it's a valid goal. So very subtle.
Doesn't make any sense, but it's subtle.
So we spend lots of time talking about those subtle issues, believe it or not. So the crease wall, this is again something that they've really pushed into the game. They don't want the defensive players standing in the crease in front of the goal as an added protection for the goalie. If we do that, they really want to avoid that from happening. Okay, so that's a conduct foul, especially if we're probably going to try to be a little bit more preventative officiating from that standpoint and tell them, hey, they need to get out of there. If they're standing in the crease to try to block a shot as a defensive player, we're going to try to avoid them doing that. Does that make sense?
Goalie comes out of the cage, gets stripped of the ball, he can't get it, the defender jumps in, that's a penalty.
Theoretically, yes. Yes, because they're basically telling the coaches, don't tell your kids to jump in front of the goal if the goalie leaves the goal. They're trying to get them to not teach that technique. All right, so it's over and back. So the team's coming down. This comes down. Their 20-second count is on, right? And they come across the line. And as soon as they come across the line, what happens? 10-second count starts, right? As soon as they cross that midfield, 10-second count starts. If they can go back and forth across the line all day long, because guess what? The 10-second line, the 10-second is on. Once they make it into the box after the 10 seconds, then at that point, if that ball is pushed back across center line by the offense, it's an immediate play on, and if that nobody picks it up within a very quick second, kill it, defense picks it up, quick restart. That's the way it's going to work. Right? Shooting strings, this is no longer valid. You can't have that horseshoe shooting string. 4 inches from the top down is all you can have shooting strings in. Again, same college rule that's come down into high school. Right?
What about you?
Same thing. Same exact thing. You can't have that horseshoe shooting string. Anything below 4 inches from the top of the head. And same kind of thing here. You know, just that the single line and 2 inches. Please tell your kids to cut your strings back off. Especially, you know, a new stick that has that big flappy thing at the bottom. You know, the extra piece at the bottom. Just have them cut it off. You know, and give them a little thing. All right. So, and ball stops are not required, but you can have them. And if it's more than 2 inches, we'll just tell them it's not a penalty. Just go off and fix it. All right. This is a key thing that you need to know as a coach as kids come and say, hey, what about equipment? If you've got a freshman or an 8th grader, he's going to end up having to change his head in the next 2 years. Where everybody's going to one head, so the manufacturers have managed to figure this out, at least got them to put the right pressure on. There's only going to be one head, NCAA or high school. So, you know, and it actually makes it harder on us because we actually have to make 3 measurements on the stick. At the base, 3 inches, then 3.5 at 5 inches up, and then a minimum of 6 across the top. You know, in high school right now it's 6.5. So, yep. All right. So, real quickly, here's the dates for the season. You guys know practice starts on the 25th. Early state for the match. Here's all the things. You are going to have to go through this rules clinic if you're doing high school. Starts next Wednesday, the 20th. So those are the dates. Here's the youth exception. Here's the grid. If you're interested, it's in the back of the book. The key thing is that 3-yard rule versus the 5-yard rule. So you know that's where you're going to start seeing a lot more push and stuff like that. One of the things I will mention is we do the GLOA does a lacrosse does a scholarship in the name of Ron Maloney every year, and this is stuff that you guys can submit into us. We actually pay for a kid to go to lacrosse camp during the summer. We gave out 6 of those last year, and you know why we gave out 6? We only got 6 submissions. We typically try to give out at least 10. So, you know, we're willing to pay. If your kid is in need and they you know, they don't have that money to go to lacrosse camp, let us know. Submit it back to us, and we'll try to get these kids into camp in summer. All right, here we are. I'm the president, Pete Flory, deals with you guys on billing issues and yells at you on the field from time to time. He's that angry Long Islander. It's kind of hard to